The air in Maryland town was thick with the promise of another sweltering day, but even before the first rays of sun painted the sky, Zubaida was awake. At 14, the weight of her family rested heavily on her slender shoulders. The rhythmic coughs from the corner of their small hut, her mother Halima's cough, were a daily reminder of her burden. She moved with practiced efficiency, filling bottles with cool, filtered water and vibrant fruit drinks, the clinking glass a stark melody in the pre-dawn stillness. Her schoolbooks felt like lead in her bag as she secured her goods, each careful tie a silent prayer. Her heart ached with a mixture of duty and worry. Each coin she earned was not simply profit, it was a potential reprieve from the creeping despair that haunted them. The streets outside were still cloaked in pre-dawn gloom, the air thick with the scent of charcoal smoke and the distant calls of early risers. A shiver ran down her spine, a feeling more than just a morning chill, it was a sense of unease she couldn't quite name. The school loomed in the distance, its windows light, vacant eyes in the grey light. Each step she took was a silent calculation, weighing the time against the potential sales she'd make along the route. Suddenly, a man, his head encased in headphones, stumbled past, his hands flailing as he wrestled with his keys. A thick bundle of money, wrapped in a faded rubber band, slipped from his pocket and landed on the dusty ground, unnoticed. "Excuse me, sir," Zubaida called, her breath catching in her throat. The rhythmic thrum of the man's music was a wall her voice couldn't penetrate. She hesitated. The money, enough to secure weeks, perhaps even months, of Halima's desperately needed medication, lay there, vulnerable and unclaimed. A battle erupted within her chest. She imagined the relief on her mother's face, contrasted against Halima's stern, but loving words echoing in her mind, "Never take what isn't yours, my child. Even if we suffer." A bead of sweat trickled down her temple, the temptation's a tangible force. Her fingers twitched, drawn to the money, but the memory of her mother's unwavering honesty was like an anchor, pulling her back from the edge. With a surge of determination, Zubaida abandoned her sales route. Her heart hammered in her chest, a frantic drum against her ribs. The man, still oblivious, was moving quickly, and she sprinted, her sandals slapping against the hard-packed earth. "Sir." "Hello." "Please wait." Her voice cracked with exertion, a desperate cry lost in the urban cacophony. Each breath was a stab of pain, her lungs burning with the effort, but she pushed on, the money in her hand feeling like a heavy burden of responsibility. He was now mounting the steps to a grand, imposing house, its gates like steel teeth. Finally, her legs burning, she reached the heavy door, and with trembling hands knocked. The house was eerily silent, the stillness unnerving after her frantic chase. The door creaked open, revealing a woman whose face was as hard and angular as the iron gate. Her eyes, sharp and cold, assessed Zubaida from head to toe, not a hint of warmth in their depths. "Yes." "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice sharp and clipped. Zubaida's carefully rehearsed explanation faltered, her words tumbling out unevenly. She held out the wad of money, a physical manifestation of her internal struggle. I found this." The man, he dropped it. The woman's gaze narrowed, her silence a heavy weight. She snatched the money from Zubaida's hand, her fingers brushing against Zubaida's, and a cold shiver ran down the girl's spine. "Give it to me," she snapped, her tone leaving no room for argument. Reluctantly, Zubaida handed it over, a seed of doubt planting itself in her mind. "Please," she pleaded, her voice barely a whisper. "Please make sure he gets it. There's a note inside, proving it's his." The woman offered no response, her eyes like shards of obsidian, as she slammed the door in Zubaida's face, the finality of the sound sending a jolt of fear down Zubaida's spine. The walk back to her usual selling spot felt longer, each step heavier than the last. A knot of dread tightened in her stomach. When she finally reached the spot, she found it empty. Her bottles, her carefully prepared drinks, all gone. A pit of despair opened up within her, swallowing her whole. The money she returned, the sacrifice she made, was it even worth it? How could she face her mother now? How could she buy the medicine that was the only thing fighting against the darkness that was threatening to consume them? Mr. Obiora, oblivious to the drama that had unfolded, returned to his house, searching for his lost money. Panic began to set in, a cold sweat forming on his brow. He questioned his housemaid, Adebayo, her eyes wide with faint innocence. "I haven't seen any money, sir," she insisted, twisting her hands in front of her. He searched his pockets again, finding nothing. Desperation made his movements frantic. Then, while pacing in his living room, his eyes fell on a crumpled piece of paper beneath the couch and his heart skipped a beat. It was Zubaida's note, a clear, almost pleading explanation of the situation. His heart clenched with recognition and a surge of unexpected gratitude. He saw the evidence of Zubaida's integrity, but he also sensed a dark undercurrent of deception. Adebayo, he realized, was not so innocent. A cold fury began to simmer beneath the surface. The next morning, Mr. Obiora, a man accustomed to control and precision, sought out Zubaida at her usual spot. He watched her for a moment, the quiet determination in her eyes a stark contrast to the chaos that had gripped him that morning. "Are you the girl who returned my money?" he asked, his voice low and even. Zubaida nodded, her eyes downcast. She expected anger, reprimand, but instead, she saw a glint of something akin to respect in his eyes. He explained what had happened in his house, his voice laced with a quiet fury. "My housekeeper has been dishonest. She denied ever seeing it. But your note has revealed the truth. I need your help to trap her, to expose her lies." Hesitation flickered across Zubaida's face, fear battling with her sense of justice. This was a world she had never ventured into before, a world of secrets and deceit, but her mother's lessons echoed in her mind, pushing her forward. I will help you, sir," she whispered, her voice trembling, but filled with a newfound resolve. Mr. Obiora's plan was intricate and chilling. He asked Zubaida to write another note, a decal, this time placed next to another bundle of money, marked and impossible to mistake. "You must take this to my house, pretending it is the money you forgot to return," Mr. Obiora explained, his voice calm but firm. Doubts plagued Zubaida, and she felt like she was on the wrong side. "I knew you are a thief, eh?" "No, I'm not a thief," she protested. "You say you're not a thief, but I know you purposefully left this money." "No, I can't do this. No, I can't do this, even if my mom is very, very sick. I need medication, but that does not permit me to take whatever that does not belong to me," Zubaida exclaimed. "Yes, for your sick mother. But are you sure this is everything?" Mr. Obiora responded. "Yes, are you sure?" Zubaida replied. "Yes." "Oh, go now, please," Mr. Obiora said. Her heart pounded like a trapped bird as she approached the imposing house, her hands shaking as she placed a sealed envelope next to a bundle of cash, the scene feeling like a dangerous game. Hidden cameras, placed strategically by Mr. Obiora, watched her every move, their cold, unblinking lenses capturing the scene to come. The silence within the house was deafening, the air pregnant with anticipation. That evening, Mr. Obiora returned home, his expression carved in stone. The air was thick with tension as he faced Adebayo. His voice, sharp and controlled, sliced through the silence. "Did you see the money Zubaida brought back?" he asked, his eyes cold and piercing. Adebayo's face was a practiced mask of innocence. "Sir, I swear, I didn't take anything. I'm not hiding anything." "You think I don't know?" he interrupted, his voice rising. "I gave you everything, Adebayo. I employed you, paid you, gave you shelter in my home. You live here free of charge, in comfort. Have I ever harassed you? Have I treated you unfairly?" His tone grew harsher, his anger boiling over. "And this is how you repay me? By stealing my money over and over again? A poor girl brought back what didn't even belong to her, and you couldn't return it. Why? Is it a crime that I trusted you? Who taught you this kind of betrayal?" Adebayo stood frozen, her composure wavering under the onslaught. Without another word, Mr. Obiora led her to his study. He turned the screen of his computer toward her, the grainy footage playing back the damning truth. On the screen, her hand reached for the money, and beside it, Zubaida's note lay untouched. Her facade shattered. Tears streamed down her face as she stared at the screen, her denial crumbling. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't mean to. Didn't mean to." Mr. Obiora's voice was still. "This isn't the first time, is it? How many times have you done this, Adebayo?" The weight of his words pressed down on her. She broke down completely, confessing to a string of thefts that had gone unnoticed. The room fell silent, her sobs the only sound. Betrayal hung in the air, bitter and suffocating. Mr. Obiora's disappointment was palpable, a storm of emotions that left the room heavy with unspoken consequences. The next morning, under a sky that seemed to shine a little brighter, Mr. Obiora approached Zubaida again, a small smile playing on his lips. "Thanks to your bravery and honesty, I've uncovered the truth," he said, his voice filled with sincere gratitude. He bought all of her goods, handing her a small wad of money, her reward for an act of extraordinary bravery. "This is a token of my gratitude, Zubaida. Your honesty is a light in a world that often feels dark. I want to help, I want to meet your family." His words filled her with a sense of pride, a warmth that chased away the shadows that had been clinging to her. When Mr. Obiora visited their small hut, the reality of Halima's condition struck him with brutal force. He saw the quiet strength in Zubaida's eyes and the love that bound them. Moved by their resilience and Zubaida's extraordinary honesty, he made a promise. He would cover all of Halima's medical expenses and insist on enrolling Zubaida in a scholarship program. His offer was like a ray of sunshine, piercing through the darkest clouds, a promise of a new beginning. As she watched him speak, a fragile hope bloomed within Zubaida's heart, a feeling she had almost forgotten. It was a hope that whispered of a future where honesty was rewarded and integrity could triumph over adversity. But tucked within the joy was a nagging feeling, a sense that this journey was far from over, that the path of truth, while rewarding, could still hold unexpected detours.